alone. There's a lot of times I feel alone, but I'm not lonely. And there's other times I'm lonely, but I really don't feel alone. To some people, that really sounds like the same thing twice. But if you know, you know. It's like a feeling of, I can go home, walk in, and everything's the way that I left it. My food's there, my drink's there, my bed's made, if I made it, because let's be real, who does that nowadays? But everything is in peaceful, serene, where I left it. That's a good example of, I'm alone, but I don't feel lonely. And then there's other times, I come home, and everything's exactly where I left it. Dishes are dirty, laundry needs to be cleaned, dried, folded, hung. Those moments, I feel lonely. Not because I'm looking for somebody to do it for me per se, but more so I'm looking for somebody to do it with, or at least just wishing there was somebody to help, you know, whether it be a significant other, a roommate. I'm not gonna say parents. There's times when you're alone and you don't feel lonely, but then you're alone and you feel lonely as fuck. And there's other times you're not alone and you still feel that lonely. Because to me, that loneliness is that sense of despair that you can't really connect, or you're not making a connection per se. It's kind of like you're in a crowd at a concert surrounded by hundreds of people, maybe thousands. And there could be a moment where you just realize that nobody around there is there with you or there for you, but you're surrounded by people, but you feel alone. That's what I describe as loneliness. And that feeling where it doesn't matter where you are, but you feel like you can't connect. I think that's what true loneliness is. I feel like nowadays a lot of people are scared to be alone. But that's not what they're really scared of. No, no, no. What they're really scared of is the loneliness that comes with being alone. There's a lot of times that people say they don't want to end up alone, but that's not really what it is, because no matter who you are, everybody on this earth has somebody that cares. You can feel alone, you can feel lonely, but you're never truly alone. As long as there's somebody that knows you or cares for you, you're never really alone. You're never really lonely, I should say. You can be alone. Oh yeah, being alone, feeling alone, that's one thing. But loneliness is something that can only be cured by realizing you have people around you. Even if it's somebody you don't even expect. A lot of times you immediately think of significant other, you think of a family member, you know, you think of maybe even your friends, but sometimes it could be that random stranger, that security guard you see at work every day. You don't know his name, he doesn't know your name, or she, they, whatever. Y'all don't know each other, but every day y'all see each other and y'all say, what's up? But the one day that they're missing, do you notice? The one day that you're missing, do you think they notice? I think they do. I know they do. Maybe I'm in a percentage of people who takes notice of little things like that, but I would notice. I would go in and be like, security shawty's not here today. She's always here, every single day at this time. I wonder. A lot of times when people feel loneliness, they don't realize that there's somebody just like that, whether they know it or not, that would recognize them, that would see them. And if we could all remember that, I think a lot of times we would feel a lot less lonely. Sometimes being alone is needed, but being lonely is something that nobody should feel. As I've been alone for a while, for a little bit now, and I really think about, sometimes I'm alone, but sometimes I feel lonely, I really got a sense, and I really got a better understanding, they're not the same thing. And once you realize that, you can really get some perspective on, do you feel alone right now? Is it that it's empty and there's nothing around? You can feel that. You can feel that space. You have to remember that there's people around. And I think that's a big difference. You can feel alone, and feeling alone is okay, because sometimes feeling alone is just a sense of emptiness, auditory, sensory deprivation. You know, there's nobody talking, there's nobody around, TV's not on maybe, or there's just an absence of people around you. You feel space. You have a lot of space and nobody's around you, and you feel alone. That feeling, it sucks, but it's not too bad. The loneliness though, that loneliness, that's a killer. As I think more about the loneliness, I know a lot of videos on this channel are like travel stuff. And that feeling of loneliness can always catch you when you least expect it. You could be out of the state on a dope trip, surrounded by those you love, and there's just a moment where you're sitting there and everybody's interacting, and you might look around and realize that everyone's talking to each other or has gone off on an escapade or adventure, and it's just you. And in those moments, you can look around and still feel lonely. Surrounded in a bar club full of people living their best lives, making great experiences, and that feeling can just hit you. No one's immune to it. Everybody feels it. So I guess if I had anything to say at the end of this, just reflecting and thinking about alone and loneliness, I'd say this. Next time you're feeling alone, really think in your head about somebody you wouldn't normally recognize or you wouldn't really acknowledge in your life. It might be somebody at your gym. It might be a clerk you see at your gas station when you go to buy Lotto or cigs. Manager at the Starbucks that always makes your coffee just right. But think of those people next time you feel loneliness and you think nobody cares. Because those little interactions, whether you know it or not, if you didn't go there on the day you always go, or if you broke routine, somebody would notice. Somebody would notice. They always do.